There's a Rolex sitting on your wrist right now that billionaires refuse to wear. You saved for months, maybe years. You walked into an authorized dealer, got put on a waiting list, felt that rush when they finally called your number. You spent $15,000, maybe $20,000, maybe more, and you thought you'd arrived, except the truly wealthy. They moved on 2 years ago. Bill Gates wears a $50 Casio. Jeff Bezos has been photographed in a modest Omega, and old money collectors, the people who actually understand watches, are quietly buying Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and brands you've probably never heard of. So where does that leave your Rolex? And how did Rolex get to this point where the wealthy no longer think it's gold? Today we're breaking down exactly what happened to Rolex. The question is, will you wait till the end and find out? The numbers nobody talks about. Rolex makes approximately 1.176 million watches per year. When it comes to luxury products, that number of watches being produced each year doesn't scream exclusivity. That's industrial-scale manufacturing dressed up in Swiss precision marketing. Let's add a bit more context. Patek Philippe produces around 72,000 watches annually. Audemars Piguet makes roughly 51,000 pieces. Vacheron Constantin, another member of watchmaking's Holy Trinity, sits around 60,000. Do the math. Rolex produces 16 times more watches than Patek, 23 times more than Audemars Piguet. And yet somehow, Rolex convinced the world it's exclusive. And retailers, they had a crazy demand for it. The retail milestone phenomenon. Here's what actually happened. Rolex became the default "I made it" purchase for upper middle class professionals. The lawyer who just made partner, the tech worker after their first big promotion, the finance bro celebrating a bonus, the small business owner after a good year. It basically stopped being a luxury watch and became a checkpoint, a merit badge, a LinkedIn profile updated to senior director, translated into a wristwatch form. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, except actual wealthy people don't wear checkpoints. They don't broadcast milestones. They don't need external validation that they've succeeded because they did that decades ago, or their grandfather did, or they inherited enough money that the concept of making it is meaningless. But with every other person waving a Rolex as a badge of honor, there's a big problem. The ubiquity problem. Walk into any airport lounge, count the submariners, any upscale restaurant, count the Daytonas, any corporate boardroom, count the Datejusts. When almost everyone is wearing the same watch you spent $12,000 on, the exclusivity vanishes. And wealthy collectors noticed. They started realizing that Rolex had become the luxury equivalent of a Honda Accord. Extremely well made, reliable, holds value reasonably well, but absolutely, utterly common. The mystery disappeared. Every model is documented, priced, ranked, discussed endlessly on YouTube and Reddit. There's no discovery anymore, no insider knowledge, just mass market luxury pretending to be rare. The rich want something quiet. The quiet luxury movement. Somewhere around 2021, old money started getting loud about being quiet. Not literally loud. They don't do anything literally out loud. That's the point. What changed? The ultra-wealthy watched nouveau riche buyers flood into Rolex, watched influencers flex steel sports models, watched resale prices hit ridiculous premiums, and they collectively decided that visible luxury was tacky, trying too hard. So the ultra-rich old money decided to go somewhere else. The brands they actually buy. So where did they go? Patek Philippe, the watchmaker that's been around since 1839. The brand whose slogan is literally, "You never actually own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation." That's generational wealth talking to generational wealth. A standard steel Patek Philippe Nautilus? Try finding one for under $100,000 on the secondary market. The Tiffany blue dial version sold at auction for $6.5 million. That's not a watch. That's a Picasso you wear on your wrist. They also began to move towards Audemars Piguet. The Royal Oak defined luxury sports watches in 1972, 4 years before Rolex even released the Nautilus. Limited production, distinctive design, impossible to fake convincingly, and most importantly, not on every finance bro's wrist. Audemars Piguet produced roughly 51,000 watches in 2024. That's what actual exclusivity looks like. Speaking of exclusivity, ever heard of F.P. Journe? Never heard of him? Exactly. François-Paul Journe makes watches that serious collectors lose sleep over. Production is minuscule. Waiting lists are real, not manufactured, and you absolutely cannot walk into an authorized dealer and buy one the same day. The super rich then went German, A. Lang and Söhne, German precision engineering that makes Swiss watchmaking look almost pedestrian. These are watches for people who actually understand movement finishing and complications. Don't even get us started on de Bethune, Rexep, Rexepi, independent watchmakers creating pieces that might produce a few hundred watches per year total. So why these brands? What these brands have that Rolex lost? Mystery, scarcity, real scarcity, not artificial waiting lists, while the brand pumps out 1 million units annually. You can't learn everything about an FP Journée Chronomètre Souverain from a 15-minute YouTube video. And most critically, they're not status symbols. They're watches for people who love watches. People who care about guilloché dials and tourbillons and manually finished movements. The ultra-wealthy don't want status symbols everyone recognizes. They want markers only other wealthy people understand. It's the same reason billionaires wear Brunello Cucinelli instead of Gucci. The same reason they drive vintage Porsches instead of Lamborghinis. The same reason they vacation in places without Instagram geotags. Exclusivity requires obscurity. Rolex has zero obscurity left, but it did make several people millionaires. How smart money made millions, then left. Let's talk about what actually happened between 2020 and 2022. The pandemic hit, interest rates dropped to zero, stock markets went crazy, crypto exploded, and suddenly everybody with money was looking for alternative assets. Real estate felt slow, stocks felt volatile, fine art requires expertise. And then someone pointed out that Rolex Daytonas were appreciating faster than the S&P 500. The speculative mania began, the hype build and retail rush. Social media taught everyone which models to buy. YouTube channels ranked the best investment watches. Reddit forums discussed flipping strategies. TikTok showed kids how to get on the list at authorized dealers. According to market data, average Rolex resale prices increased over 550% from 2010 to the peak in March 2022, climbing from $2,050 to $17,206. That's not normal, that's a bubble. Aspirational buyers rushed in. Middle-class professionals who'd never considered a $20,000 watch suddenly decided it was a smart investment. They stretched their finances, took out loans, maxed credit cards. They weren't buying watches anymore. They were buying what they thought were guaranteed appreciating assets, financial instruments that happened to tell time. But while some got carried away, smart money didn't. The inevitable correction. Smart money exited first. By late 2021, wealthy collectors and serious investors started selling. They'd seen this movie before. Beanie Babies, baseball cards, NFTs, Pokemon cards. Every speculative bubble follows the same pattern. Early adopters quietly sell at the top. Retail buyers keep buying, convinced prices will keep rising forever. Then reality hits. From the March 2022 peak to current 2025 prices, the market corrected 31%. Average resale prices fell to around $13,426. Some models got absolutely destroyed. That Submariner people paid $22,000 for, now trading around $14,000, still above retail, but if you bought at the peak, you lost $8,000. Daytonas held better, but even they dropped 20 to 30% from peak prices. And here's where it gets fascinating. The middle-class buyers who came in late are confused and defensive. The retail buyer psychology. Buyers bought Rolex because everyone said it was a safe investment. They bought it because influencers told them it was smart. They bought it because it felt like a responsible luxury purchase. Now they're stuck. Can't sell without taking losses. Can't admit they overpaid. Can't acknowledge they got played by speculative mania. So they convince themselves the market will come back. They post on Reddit about holding long term. They repeat phrases like time in the market beats timing the market as if a watch is the S&P 500. It's classic asset cycle behavior. The last buyers in are always the ones holding the bag. They banked on Rolex's identity as a successful brand, the victim of its own excellence. Let's be clear about something. Rolex didn't fail. Rolex succeeded so spectacularly that it stopped being what made it special in the first place. Think about the paradox. Rolex wanted to be the world's most recognized luxury watch brand. Mission accomplished. 32% of the entire Swiss watch market belongs to Rolex. Revenue hit 10.6 billion Swiss francs in 2024. Rolex wanted a massive production scale to drive revenue growth. Mission accomplished. 1.176 million watches produced annually. Rolex wanted extremely recognizable designs that became cultural icons. Mission accomplished. The Submariner is probably the most recognizable watch design on Earth. Rolex wanted to maintain high resale values and collector interest. Mission accomplished. Even after the correction, most models still trade above retail. Is the price of Rolex's success? The price of success. For Rolex, that price came with a cost. Zero mystery left. Every single Rolex model has been documented, reviewed, compared, ranked, and discussed to death. There are no hidden gems, no insider discoveries, no if you know moments. Everyone knows. The paradox of luxury is that the more successful you become, the less exclusive you feel. Hermès understands this. They refuse to scale Birkin production even though demand is insane. Patek understands this. They could easily double production and still sell every watch, but they don't. Rolex chose the other path: maximum production, maximum market share, maximum revenue. And it worked until it didn't, until the very success they built became the thing that made wealthy collectors walk away. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Making 1.176 million high-quality watches per year requires some serious industrial-scale operations. The manufacturing reality. Rolex has over 9,000 employees, multiple manufacturing facilities, automated production systems, computer numerical control machines, assembly lines. This isn't a small atelier where master watchmakers hand-finish movements. This is a factory, an extremely sophisticated, quality-controlled, precisely engineered factory. But a factory nonetheless. Compare that to Patek Philippe. Roughly 2,670 employees producing 72,000 watches. That's one watch per employee every 10 days. At Rolex, one watch per employee every 3 days. Still, despite all the talk of reduced exclusivity, people were still behind Rolex massively. The middle-class, stupid buyer, unpacking the insult. Let's address the elephant in the room. Only stupid middle-class shoppers still buy Rolex. That's harsh, insulting, classist, but not entirely without truth if you understand what it's actually saying. So, middle-class buyers are arriving late to a party that's already over, paying premium prices for something that's already peaked, and convincing themselves they're making a smart financial decision when they're actually making an emotional one. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Most middle-class Rolex buyers aren't buying watches, they're buying reassurance, they're buying validation. They're buying a story they can tell themselves about their success. The watch becomes proof. Look, I made it. I'm successful enough to own a Rolex. I'm in the club now. Except the club moved to a different venue 2 years ago and didn't send you the new address. Wealthy buyers who already owned all the Submariners and Daytonas and GMT Masters they wanted realized the watches weren't special anymore. They stopped signaling exclusivity when everyone had one, so they moved on to Patek, to AP, to Independence, to vintage pieces, to gem-set Rolexes that nobody else recognizes. Middle-class buyers are still chasing what wealthy buyers have already discarded. And here's where the stupid part comes in. Not stupid people, stupid financial decisions. Many middle-class buyers stretched to afford these watches. They bought at peak prices during the speculation mania. They convinced themselves it was an investment, not an expense. Now they're underwater. They took money that could have gone into index funds, real estate, or actual investments, and put it into a luxury good that depreciated 30% in 2 years. That's not smart. That's getting caught up in hype and FOMO and aspirational marketing. And when you point this out, the defensiveness is immediate and intense. I didn't buy it as an investment. I bought it because I love it. Okay. But 3 comments ago, you were talking about resale values and how Rolex watches hold their worth. It's about the craftsmanship and history, sure. But you can't name the movement caliber in your watch or explain what makes Rolex's hairspring special. You just know it's Swiss-made and high quality. I earned this. I deserve to enjoy nice things. Absolutely, nobody's disputing that. The question is whether you're enjoying the watch or enjoying the idea of owning a Rolex. Most middle-class Rolex buyers are buying brand recognition, not horological excellence. And they overpaid dramatically for that recognition. The reality check was brutal. The reality check: sales, demand, and market dominance. Let's pump the brakes for a second. Because despite everything we've discussed, Rolex is doing absolutely fine. Revenue in 2024, 10.6 billion Swiss francs. That's up from 10.1 billion in 2023 and 9.3 billion in 2022. Market share, 32% of the entire Swiss watch market. Second place Cartier holds 8%. Rolex is bigger than the next several brands combined. Pre-owned market dominance, 34.2% of global transaction volume. At the peak during the pandemic, 43.9%. Even after the correction, Rolex still dominates resale. So what's actually happening here? Rolex lost the ultra-wealthy, but it absolutely dominates everyone else. The diverse buyer base. Here's what critics miss. Rolex's buyer base is incredibly diverse. Yes, it's popular with middle-class professionals celebrating achievements, also with emerging wealthy buyers in Asia, Gen Z entrants buying their first luxury watch, high-net-worth individuals who want a daily beater that can take abuse, VIPs who bypass waiting lists easily. Rolex didn't lose everyone. They lost a specific segment, the old money collectors, the serious horological enthusiasts, the stealth wealth crowd. But they gained millions of aspirational buyers, people who see Rolex as attainable luxury, the entry point to a world they're building toward, and certain models remain absolutely bulletproof. Specific model performance. The Datejust isn't just popular, it's the most popular Rolex model on Chrono24, the world's largest marketplace for luxury watches. 8 Datejust variations saw value increases of more than 10% last year alone. In the 10,000 to 20,000 euro price range, Rolex holds a commanding 64.3% market share. They completely dominate the accessible luxury sports watch category. Iconic models still command premiums on the secondary market. Submariner, 38 to 131% above retail, depending on the reference. Daytona, 40 to 80% above retail for steel models. Prices corrected 20 to 30% from 2022 peaks, but for most references, they've stabilized or even risen again in 2025. This isn't a dying brand. This is a brand successfully serving a different customer base than it used to. So, should you buy it? What are the pros and cons? Build quality is actually excellent. Let's be fair, there are legitimate reasons people buy Rolex, reasons that have nothing to do with speculation or showing off. Rolex makes incredibly well-constructed watches. The oyster case, the perpetual movement, the chromalite lume, the parachrome hairspring, these aren't marketing buzzwords. They're real technical advantages that make Rolex watches reliable and durable. You can wear a Submariner diving, hiking, playing sports, whatever. It'll take the abuse and keep running within COSC chronometer specifications. Resale value is still strong. Even after the correction, most Rolex models hold value better than almost any other watch brand. That Submariner you bought for $13,000, you can probably sell it for $11,000 after wearing it for a year. Try doing that with an Omega or a Tag Heuer. Timeless design. A Submariner from 1953 looks fundamentally similar to a Submariner from 2025. The design language is so consistent that vintage pieces don't feel dated. They feel classic. Speaking of classic, let us tell you about the next pro. Cultural icon status. Like it or not, Rolex is part of the cultural fabric. James Bond wore a Submariner. Paul Newman's Daytona is the most expensive wristwatch ever sold at auction. Rolex means something beyond just telling time, and they usually don't hang their buyers out to dry. Their service and support are unmatched. Rolex has authorized service centers worldwide. You can get your watch serviced in New York, Dubai, Tokyo, London, anywhere. Try getting your FP Journe serviced in a small city. Good luck. But it's not all sunny when it comes to buying Rolex. Let's talk about the cons. Overhyped marketing. Rolex spends approximately $100 to $200 million annually on marketing and sponsorships. Formula One, tennis, golf, exploration. The marketing creates aspiration that the product doesn't always deliver. Still, despite making more watches than some of their top competition, Rolex still has a way of making their watches seem unique. They create artificial scarcity theater. The waiting lists are real, but are they necessary? Rolex makes 1.176 million watches per year. Patek makes 72,000 and also has waiting lists. The difference? Patek's scarcity is real. Rolex feels manufactured, and it is. But that's not the only trick Rolex plays on people. Authorized dealer games. The stories are legendary. Customers being told they need to buy jewelry or less desirable watches to get allocated a Daytona. Being asked about their purchase history. Being made to feel like supplicants begging for permission to spend $15,000. When buying a luxury product feels like a hostage negotiation, something's broken. Gray market premiums. Want to skip the waiting list? You can buy from gray market dealers. Just pay 50 to 100% above retail. That's not exclusivity. That's a dysfunctional distribution system creating arbitrage opportunities for middlemen. No wonder some rich folks think Rolex is basic. The snob factor. In serious watch collector circles, Rolex is considered basic. It's the watch you buy when you don't actually know about watches. It's mass-produced luxury trying to pass as haute horlogerie. Fair or not, that perception exists, and it affects resale values and collector interest. Now let's look at another factor that should determine if you should own a Rolex. Movement technology isn't cutting edge. Rolex movements are reliable and well-made, but they're not innovations. The parachrome hairspring is good, but it's not a silicone hairspring like what higher-end brands use. The Chronergy escapement is efficient, but it's not a natural escapement or a constant force mechanism. Rolex makes very good watches, but they don't make groundbreaking watches. Or what do you think? Here's what makes this even more interesting. The unique angles nobody discusses. The psychological lock-in effect. Once someone buys their first Rolex, they tend to buy more Rolexes. Not because it's the best watch, because they've invested emotionally and financially in the brand. Switching to Patek feels like admitting their first purchase was wrong. Rolex doesn't just sell watches, they sell an identity. And identities are hard to change, which is why this next angle exists. The middle-class aspiration trap. For many buyers, Rolex represents their one shot at owning true luxury. They can't afford Patek. They'll never buy a Vacheron Constantin. So Rolex becomes their ceiling, not their floor. They convince themselves it's the pinnacle because accepting it's the entry level feels like failure. Imagine they now get a counterfeit Rolex. The authentication crisis. Rolex is the most counterfeited watch brand on earth. The resale market is flooded with fakes. That creates paranoia. Buyers second-guess every private sale. Authentication services became an entire industry just for Rolex. When even authentic pieces are suspected of being fake because there are so many fakes in circulation, you've lost something important: trust. But can Rolex regain that important spark? Further reduce production volume. If Rolex wants to feel exclusive again, the simplest solution is that they make fewer watches. Rolex already modestly cut output in 2024 to 1.176 million from previous years. What if they drop to under 1 million annually? They should focus more on precious metal models: yellow gold, white gold, platinum. Cut back on stainless steel sports models. Artificial scarcity only works when it's backed by actual scarcity. This mirrors the Hermes Birkin strategy. Could Hermes make more Birkins? Absolutely. Do they? No. Because scarcity maintains desire. Would this hurt revenue short-term? Maybe. Would it protect brand equity long-term? Definitely. Tighten distribution and allocation rules. Rolex should stop the authorized dealer games where customers have to buy jewelry to get allocated a watch, prioritize sales to long-term clients, and high-spend VIPs even more aggressively. Reduce allocations to high-volume dealers. Favor boutique-only releases. Create actual gatekeeping that's transparent and merit-based, not arbitrary and corrupt. This would make the no at authorized dealers feel less like theater and more like actual exclusivity. Walking into a dealer and being told no paradoxically makes ownership feel more elite. Also, Rolex should also focus more on what the elites would want. Spin-off or create ultra-limited lines. They can introduce a sub-brand or tier for truly exclusive pieces, hand-finished movements, bespoke customization. Ultra-complicated watches are limited to hundreds per year, not hundreds of thousands. This preserves the main Rolex line's broad appeal while offering old money collectors something that competes directly with Patek and Audemars Piguet. Rolex already has the Cellini line, but nobody cares about Cellini because it's not a sports watch and it's not truly exclusive. Create something new. Price it at $100,000 plus. Make 500 pieces per year. Give it a different name so it doesn't dilute the main Rolex brand. Wealthy collectors would pay attention again. There are still a few more changes we'd recommend for them. Shift marketing towards subtle heritage and craftsmanship. Tone down the flashy sponsorships and celebrity partnerships. Lean harder into innovation, durability, and technical excellence. Stop positioning Rolex as a status symbol and start positioning it as a horological achievement. Emphasize the parachrome hairspring, the proprietary gold alloys, the in-house manufacturing. Make the marketing appeal to watch nerds, not aspiration buyers. This wouldn't work overnight. Brand perception takes years to shift, but gradually, Rolex could become less "look at me" and more "if you know, you know." Let's talk about the Certified Pre-Owned Program, or CPO for short. Reevaluate the Certified Pre-Owned Program. The CPO initiative brings pre-owned watches into official channels with Rolex warranty. This adds legitimacy to the secondary market. But it also slightly dilutes new watch rarity by increasing overall certified supply. Opinions vary on whether this helps or hurts exclusivity. If Rolex priced CPO pieces closer to or even below gray market rates, it would undercut the speculators and make watches more accessible to genuine enthusiasts. Alternatively, if they priced CPO very close to new retail, it reinforces the value retention narrative. Either way, the CPO program is Rolex acknowledging that the secondary market matters as much as primary sales, which makes Rolex seem more valuable. The real value proposition. If you love the watch, wear the watch. If it makes you happy looking at it on your wrist, that's worth something. But don't convince yourself you made a smart investment. Don't tell yourself it's going to appreciate. Don't calculate hypothetical resale values to justify the purchase. Buy it because you genuinely love it, not because you love the idea of owning a Rolex. And if you're buying it purely for status, understand that the people whose opinions you're trying to impress probably aren't impressed. They're wearing watches you've never heard of, on purpose. The takeaway? Rolex isn't dying. It's not even struggling. It's serving a different customer now. The ultra-wealthy moved on, the middle class moved in, and Rolex became the world's most successful, accessible luxury watch brand. That's not failure, that's evolution. But it's also not what Rolex used to represent. The mystique is gone. The insider knowledge is gone. The exclusivity is gone. What remains is an extremely well-made, reliable, recognizable luxury watch that millions of people can buy. Wear what you love, but know what you're actually buying. And don't get caught up in speculation, FOMO, or aspirational marketing, because the smart money already learned that lesson. And they learned it by losing millions when the bubble popped. So here's what we learned. Rolex lost its speculative aura. Wealthy collectors moved on while aspirational buyers are still buying for brand security. The market corrected those huge peak prices. Middle-class buyers who came in late are underwater and defensive. Ultra-wealthy collectors pivoted to Patek, AP, and independents that actually offer scarcity. And Rolex? Rolex is posting record revenues, dominating market share, and serving millions of customers who genuinely love their watches. The truth is that luxury means different things to different people. For some, it's recognition. For others, it's obscurity. For some, it's reliability. For others, it's complications and craftsmanship. Rolex chose to be recognizable, reliable, and accessible. In doing so, they won the mass market and lost the collectors. Was that a mistake? Depends who you ask. The accountants at Rolex looking at $10.58 billion in revenue would say no. The old money collector wearing an FP journ nobody recognizes would say yes. Before you buy that next Rolex, ask yourself one question. Are you buying it because you actually love the watch, or because you love what owning a Rolex is supposed to mean? If it's the former, enjoy it. Wear it in good health. Pass it down to your kids. If it's the latter, save your money. The people you're trying to impress have already left for watches you can't pronounce. Drop a comment. Do you own a Rolex? Are you planning to buy one? Did this change your perspective? Like this video and hit subscribe if you want more deep dives into luxury goods, wealth psychology, and why the ultra-rich do everything differently than you think. See you in the next one.